Welcome. Our session today is dedicated to fast food. We're always on the go and it's hard to eat nutritious. So I'm going to give you a breakfast idea, a lunch idea, and a snack idea that are simple, they're easy, and you can take them on the go. So we're going to start with breakfast. This one is a coconut burrito, and we're using for our wrap something called these paleo wraps. And this one here happens to be turmeric infused, but they also have plain ones. And they're basically the meat of coconut, just pressed out. And I store mine after I open them in these Ziploc bags, and that helps them stay fresh. Basically, you open them up, and in between the paper, you'll have a thin strip of the coconut meat. And you just carefully pull that off. And that's going to be the base of your burrito. And what I like to do, just after playing with it over time, is I like to lay it out on a piece of aluminum foil. And that way you have your burrito nicely wrapped. And we'll add just a little bit of either almond butter or organic peanut butter. And basically you're just going to spread that right inside along the burrito. Now, if your diet calls for you not to have peanuts or even any of the nut butters, you can replace this with something else. You really don't need that much of it. And then I'll set that to the side for just a second, and then I'll go ahead and open this banana. And again, depending on what your diet calls for, you may not be doing a lot of fruits. I know when I first got this recipe, it was given to me as slicing the banana down the middle and putting that whole piece of banana in. That might be just too much fruit for you. So what you might want to do is just cut it into little pieces, and then you can layer that in and just put it right onto your burrito. So you can just play with the amount of fruit that you can tolerate. I know a lot of times when working with our health coach, Jessica Wagner, if you're trying to lose weight, loading up on bananas and other fruits might not be the option. It might not be the best choice. And Jessica's running a special right now. If you've not had a chance to work with her yet, she's running a single session special, and which is great, because you have a chance to get all of your meals and recipes tailored. I'm adding a little bit of dried raisins, and again, you could leave that out. It's not necessary. Or you could cut up a little bit of dried apricot. So what I like to do is I like to just roll it up into a burrito, and this is so easy to eat on the go. I'm not encouraging eating on the go, but on those times when you have to, this is a nice thing to have. And I like to just roll it right up here into the aluminum foil. And then I like to let it sit at least for a few minutes, because it starts to soften the coconut and it makes it really, really nice and yummy. And that's it. We'll be back together and talk about lunch. All right, so it's the middle of the afternoon and you're hungry, and what do you want to go for? A bag of chips or some awesome cashews? This one I call cashew curry. And it's got curry, ginger, and turmeric spices in it. So let's just go over the ingredients real quick. I've got raw ginger here, and I've basically just cut that into just little chunks, and we'll just cut that even a little smaller. It doesn't have to be too small, because it's going to go into the Vitamix, and it's going to make a little marinade. So our basic ingredients are water. We'll put about 1/4 cup into the Vitamix. And again, liquid's going in the bottom first. And that's just going to help us blend the ingredients. And then I've got a raw organic honey. And I did just warm that a little so it would come in a little bit easier to the recipe. I think when I originally saw the recipe, it called for agave. But I just switched it out. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. So if there's anything that I'm showing you that you know is not good for your diet, you can change that out and make the changes that you need. And then our major spices are cayenne pepper. I'm a little heavy-handed on this, but you can do that to taste. And we're just going to put that right into the Vitamix. This is going to give the nuts a little bit of a kick. And then I have an organic turmeric here, and again, this is to taste, so you can decide how much of that you want to put in. And then I'll go ahead and put the ginger right into the Vitamix, and we're going to make a little marinade out of it. So we'll be back together in a minute, and we'll blend that until it's completely ground up. All right, so it's time to finish our snack. So what I've taken is some raw organic cashews that have been soaked overnight, and I've strained them. And what I did is I placed them right into a Ziploc bag, and I poured our Vitamix marinade over the top of it. Now I let this sit in the fridge for an hour or two, but you really want to have that just blend in and have all those good juices be absorbed into the nuts. We're going to go ahead and plate this, and we'll come back together, and I'll show you how it comes together. So I've just placed a paper towel underneath of our dehydrator sheet, and I got all of the cashews that have been nicely soaked in our marinade spread out evenly, and we'll just pick that up and we'll place it right into the dehydrator. And I like to start this on about 115, and then it may be that over time that you can increase that temperature. You can just see how it goes. But we'll go ahead and put the lid on the front, and we'll finish it up. And this is definitely going to take overnight. So just go ahead and let that, dehydrate. You can taste it in between and see if it's crunchy enough for you. If not, just give it a little bit longer. And have fun with it. Enjoy these snacks and this fast food. All right, it's time for lunch. So today we're going to be making something called MelloMiso. And this is using as its base this miso paste. There are lots of different kinds of miso, but this one happens to be primarily brown rice and organic soybean. And this is a nice base and foundation to soups. So we're going to take a tablespoon of the miso, and it's just sort of tan and brown in color, but again, there are lots of different kinds that are out there. Now this has got some natural probiotic components to it, so you'll boil water, but you're going to make sure that you let that water sit for at least a minute before you go ahead and put the miso in it. And that way it'll keep all of its properties intact, especially those probiotic properties. If you put it straight on boiling water on it, it's going to degrade that. So let your water boil and let it sit for at least a minute. So I'm just taking the whisk and kind of whisking this around. You don't have to get it perfect, but you really don't want a big hunk of it in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add to that, we've got some great vegetables and herbs here. We've got chopped scallions, both the ends, and then the meat of the onion. We've got chopped cilantro. You could change that and use a different herb if you wanted to. You could try it with parsley. I'm a fan of cilantro. Although, according to our health coach, Jessica, that's one of my downfalls, because I like what I like, but what we need in our diet is variety. So if you can, switch it to cilantro one time, parsley the next time. Then we've got some chopped mushrooms. And we'll be back with you in just a second. So we're ready to put it all together. So I'll just go ahead and put the liquid in the Vitamix first. And if you have a Vitamix and you never got those original instructions, just remember when you're blending, you always want to put your liquid in the bottom if you can. So I'm just going to add all of our fresh ingredients. And to go with our fast food theme, I might not actually use all of these now, but when you're cutting scallions or you're cutting up your cilantro, if you know that you've got a recipe for dinner or for the next day and you're going to need it, why not just do it all at once? So we'll put in, this is to taste, and I'm going to add some pepper too, and I'll probably save a little bit of these scallions for a nighttime recipe, maybe for dinner. All right, so now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wow, that's not a lot of liquid. And maybe you want to serve 2 people. I'm just adding a little bit of pepper. So what I'll do is I'll add just a little bit more water that again has been boiled and it has set for a few minutes. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it and deciding how much of this I want. And we'll blend it all up and we'll be back together in just a second. So it's time to take our blended mix, our soup blend, and really do what we said we were going to do. Make it fast so we can take it on the go. So what I like to do is I like to get a thermos. And now that this is warm, because we know that the water was warm, just pour it right in the thermos. And then I'll pack that and take it on the go. And there you have it. We'll be back together in a minute and we'll talk about what happens when you're later hungry and you need a snack.